All right. Well, this may be all we have here for this Sunday, which is fine. Easter Sunday. I'm sure people are out doing something, maybe getting a long run in. I know in Maine it's a beautiful sunny day. It's a little windy, but at least the sun's out and it's pretty nice. So it's a good day to get outside. But we'll kind of hit up this stretch cord session here. So for today, what I would like to do is actually we're going to do one of the prescribed sessions that you guys kind of see a lot in the library, which is in there as the nines. And one of the reasons I want to kind of take a look at the nines is one, I want to talk to you guys a little bit as we do this about how to adapt and how to scale these sessions. The nines, I think, is one that Matt Dixon had come out and said it probably was a little bit too much to hit right off the bat, and I would agree. There was a lot of work in there, but I think it's a great example of one that you can scale, and then it's one where you can evolve on that session as we work through. So kind of teaching you guys the ways to kind of scale these down, and then evolve them and build on what you're working on, because it seems like we're going to be hitting these stretch cords for a while. So as opposed to seeing that same session in there all the time and doing the same thing again and again, I kind of feel like we reach a point where we're able to do a little bit more and take a little further. And Scott, are you the same Scott that was asking about resistance? Yeah, so that was one of the other things we'll kind of chat about as well, is especially at the end of the session here, we'll talk about maybe your stretch cords, reach a point where you're not getting enough resistance out of them. So how do you know when it's time to move to that either higher resistance, or how do you add more resistance to your stretch cords? I mean, I guess there's some limiters to it as to you can only back up so far and add so much stretch to an easier cord. But when is it time to jump to kind of that thicker gauge and make it a little bit harder? So today we're actually going to, like I said, we're going to scale down that nines. We're going to do the threes. And we're actually going to adapt it to be time-based as opposed to stroke-based, just so we can kind of keep everybody together as we go. But let's get started. Kind of same warm-up that we always do. I'm going to try to move you guys a little here. I'm trying to position myself where I get the best service in my house so I don't get cut out here. But we're going to kind of go with that similar warm-up. We're going to start with some arm circles. We'll do right arm first, just about 10. One of the things we talked about last time was staying nice and square through the hips and through the shoulders as we do these. Just kind of trying to stretch up through here. And you can start forward, you can start backwards whenever you do these. It's kind of up to you. As we move forward, this kind of stretches through the lats, down into the lower back a little bit. All right, let's switch arms to the other side. Again, trying to stay nice and square and not swing your whole body too much. Just really let the arm swing kind of stretch everything out a little bit and kind of get those shoulders moving. We'll just kind of work through it there. All right, let's go back to the other arm. Now we're going to go backwards this time. And now as we go backwards, we can really feel it start to open up through the chest here, down across the shoulder, the front side of it, a little bit more of a stretch through there. And again, trying to stay nice and square as we do this. And you don't have to swing wildly. It's just about loosening up a little bit. All right, let's switch to the other side, backwards. Again, about 10. We don't have to be super exact here. I usually end up doing a little bit more than that, I think, as we get going. All right. Good. Now we're going to go back to forward arm circles, but this time we're going to do double. So really try to big up and around, nice and stable. You can get a little bounce in the hips as you kind of come through. You don't want to go crazy here and tweak anything, just nice and loose. All right, now we'll switch to backwards now. You're really going to feel this one across the chest and across maybe even the biceps a little bit as we stretch this out. Nice big arm circles. All right, good. Now let's just shake it this way a little. Just trying to get loose. And we're going to go straight from shaking here. We're going to take these arms. We're going to go right up into a streamline. Here we go. Right up. Stand tall, squeeze. Kind of feel that stretch all the way through your spine. You can even get up on your tippy toes. Feel like you're getting lifted off the ground towards the ceiling. Just really try to elongate yourself as you do this. You can go to one side, kind of try to get the lats a little bit. Go over to the other side. A little forward, a little back. But just kind of squeeze the ears and feel nice and tall and like you're just getting stretched out as we do this, from toe to head to toe. Then we're going to do what we did the other day, which is actually on the swim video warm up. We're going to alternate arms. We're going to go one direction to the top, then the other direction to the top. So we're kind of alternating one forward, one back, and then switching. And I'm actually finding myself going a bit sideways here. I need to square off a little bit my shoulders as I do this myself. And then we'll do about 10 of these. And this was in the daily bulletin video that went out one day last week. It was the swim/stretch cord warm up that Matt Dixon had sent out. And we'll go right back into it. Streamline again. One more big stretch up. Really wiggle it out here. Squeeze the ears nice and tall. Then we'll just shake it out. You kind of get a little twist going. Just feeling good. All right, so we'll take a minute here. So as I said, we're gonna get into, not the 9s, but the 3s is what we're gonna call it today. We're gonna do a little preset before we get into it, and it's similar to what we've done before. It's gonna incorporate a little bit of double arm and a little bit of single arm. And I really like doing one arm at a time with the single arm because it really lets you focus on form. It lets you focus on what you're doing with that pull. It shouldn't really be a power pull. It should really be more about setting up what we're going to be doing for the rest of the day. So you're thinking about body position, nice flat back, and really trying to get that pull up here at the top, come back and push back. Make sure your palms don't get too far ahead of your elbow, especially through the front part here. Sometimes it's easy to get here and to force that back, especially if you've got the handles as opposed to the paddles. So you want to stay nice, flat, palms facing back, all the way back through. I'll grab mine here. See if you guys can see. And what we're going to do is we're just going to go a couple rounds through this. We're going to go 10 nice and smooth double arm, right into 5 right arm, right into 5 left arm only, and then we're just going to take a short half step back to get a little bit more tension for 20 single. And I'll walk you guys through it as we go through, but we're going to start at nice flat back, really practice getting the tips down and pushing all the way through the hip. But we're going to start out with 10 double. So I'll let you guys, we'll get going here, 10 double arm. You guys can go ahead and get started, and I'll talk you through as we get going. 10 double arm at the same time. We don't want a lot of tension at this point. This is really, again, just about still getting warmed up and still starting to kind of ease into things. So we're going to do those 10 double arms. As you finish those up, you're going to go right into 5 right arm only, and then 5 left arm only. And on the single arm, this is where pay attention to what you're doing with your stroke. Where's your elbow? Where's your hand? Where's your wrist? Is everything lined up? We don't want to rush through this, especially on these. This is where a good opportunity to take your time. And again, we're just kind of getting warmed up and getting loosened up. So 5 right arm only, 5 left arm only. And from there, go right into 20 alternating. So it'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And again, take a little half step back to get a little bit more tension for those alternating ones. And then after that, you can kind of drop the cords, and we'll take a little rest before we do the next round. And it's really, again, at this point, setting up what we're doing, warming up, finding that form as we do this, really working on kind of a technique focus on the early part of this. And again, if you've got one of the things we tend to see, and this is something I've seen over the past couple of weeks as people have started doing this, is again, the people that have the handles on their paddles or on their cords as opposed to the flat paddle, what we tend to see is you kind of get going and it's easy to kind of push the handles this way. I find when you have the flat paddle, it's easier to keep, obviously, to keep a palm back. So if you've got the handles, really try not to push with your fists this way. It's still pushing with your forearm and your palms straight through all the way back. And again, that's the other thing. We want to make sure we're finishing through the hip, all the way through here. So your arm is nice and straight, going right back. All right, we'll take a minute. We're gonna do that one more time through before we get going on the main set today. So we're gonna do it again with 10 double arm. Take a minute if you're just finishing it up. A little rest in between, but 10 double arm. And these, you know, can be a little slack at the front end. We don't want a lot of pressure as we kind of work through these. 10 double arm, right into 5 right arm only, 5 left arm only. Then you can take a little step back and do 20 where we're alternating between right and left. So we're alternating like a swim stroke. All right. And the people that are hooked up to video looking good, finishing all the way through the back. Jody, make sure you're getting up to the front. So we're starting nice and high. You're kind of starting your pull here. Try to get it so that you're starting your arm back up to this position, all the way up to the top. There you go, that's better. Just kind of, and you know, as you finish your stroke, just kind of let your arm follow the same path it pulled back up to the top to start that. I've mentioned this many times before, but I think it's worth repeating that we don't want to bring our arm up over like a swim stroke. We want to let the paddle bring it back up to the front. And as you guys finish that up, you can drop the paddles. And we're going to take a little break, and we're going to get started a little bit sooner than we normally would with the main set, mostly because it takes a little bit longer. Real quick, one thing I want to show you guys, if you can see, okay, move this a little closer, is something I just mentioned to Jody there. I'll wait till she's done so she can see. When we're doing the stretch cords, when we start our pull, I mean, you got to imagine it's like where your hand's entering the water. So it's up here, kind of by your head. So we want to make sure we start in that position and not, and so it's easier to do this as you have more tension on the cords. But if you're a little bit closer, so you guys can see, what tends to happen sometimes is we only come back up to here. So you're starting your pull in this position. So it'd almost be like you're a third of the way through your swim stroke. Try to get back up so we're starting towards the top of where your stroke would be, right up here by your ears, if that makes sense. All right, so what we are gonna do today is, pull it up so I have it in front of me. Like I said, instead of doing the 9s, we're gonna be doing the 3s. So the way we're gonna work through this is we are gonna go 1 minute of pulls at 60% effort. Take a little break, about 30 seconds. We'll do 1 minute of pulls at 70% effort, minute or 30-second break, and then we'll do 1 minute at 80%. Now, we talked about effort and how do you increase effort on stretch cords? Well, one, you know, the percentages on this, I kind of think of it as an RPE a little bit too, rate of perceived effort, because it's tough to really gauge what percent you're pulling on stretch cords. One way to add and make it a little bit harder is add more tension. Take a step back. You may reach a point where you're not trying, maybe it's not 90%, maybe it's only 80%, but you've kind of got it stretched to the max. So another way to add it a little bit more difficulty is, let's say you're at 70%, you can't really add more tension, increase the tempo and really try to push hard and increase the tempo as you push through. Now I'm already seeing myself do it. We don't want to do the bounce. We want to stay nice and flat, but increase the tempo is one way to make it a little bit tougher if you kind of run out of resistance room as well. But we're going to start out these. We're going to do 3 times 1 minute, 60%, 70%, 80%, and we'll take a little break. Then we're going to go 40 seconds at 70, 80, and 90%. We'll take another extra rest, and then we're going to go 20 seconds at 80, 90, and then 100% effort. All right, so I'll let you guys get settled, get set up. This is a good one if you want to get on the bench or something. This is an opportunity to do that because we'll have enough time to kind of add some resistance to it. If you're not on the bench, this is a good opportunity to make sure we're really staying nice and stable, especially through the core. Nice and tight. Avoid the bouncing around. And again, right now we're starting with what would be about 60%. So this will be the easiest effort out of all the ones we're doing today. give
Is
you
this
guys.
is this alternating arm or double arm?
Oh, sorry. Yes. Thank you for asking. This is all going to be alternating single arm. So just like you're swimming, alternating single arms for this today. And that's the other thing with this set too, is you can do it 1 week and you can go through this. I mean, ideally it's going as mimicking a swim stroke. You could do this double arm effort if you would like as well. It would be a little bit harder probably, but we're going to alternate arms today as we do it. All right, so we're going to get started here. This is going to be 60 seconds, 1 minute at about what we would call about a 60% effort. So this will actually be the easiest effort of the day for what we're doing. But all right, we're going to get started. Here we go. 1 minute, 60% effort, and begin. And as this is down to 60, it's like if you were in the pool going at 60%, it's an opportunity to kind of lengthen things out just a little bit, make sure you're getting a full stroke front to back, and really kind of making sure we're setting up for good form throughout. Okay, we are halfway there for this interval. People are looking good. This would be our smooth and controlled stroke. Okay, and rest. Now, obviously, in the 9s, this is where you would keep doing this. You would do 2 more rounds of that same effort before moving into 3 rounds at 70% and 3 rounds at 80. Today, we're just going to do 1. 1 at 60, 1 at 70, 1 at 80. Now, I talked about evolving these sessions. So if you've gone through this a couple times in the 3s and you're feeling like you could handle a little more, we could make it the 6s. So then you're doing 2 at 60, 2 at 70, 2 at 80. And as we kind of build up to maybe the 9s much further down the road, but try not to put too much stress on here. But all right, we're gonna get going now. This is at 70%. We're gonna do 1 minute at 70, so that could just look like a half a step back for some people, maybe a little bit more, but nice little, just adding a little bit more tension to the chords is probably the best way to add a little bit, to make it a little bit harder and get to that 70%. But we are gonna start right now, 1 minute, 70%, alternating. Good. Keep those palms pushing back all the way through the hip. He's looking good. We're past the halfway point. Ten more seconds. Okay, and rest. You kind of start to notice these 1 minute intervals. It's a lot. It takes some time. We got about 30-second rest here, and then we're going to take another little half step back, and we're going up to 80% this time. 80% for 1 minute. Now, as we start increasing the tension, especially for this interval, we're going to kind of get to that last 20 seconds. Make sure you're still able to finish that stroke and finish that pull all the way through the back. And if you're not able to get here, if you're maybe only able to get here before you're failing, it might be worth taking just a half a step forward. I'd rather see you guys have the technique and the rhythm and the form stick than going harder and not able to hold that form. But all right, here we go. We're going to do 1 minute at 80%, starting right now. So 80%, should feel a good bit of tension on this. Again, if you can't add too much more tension, you can increase the tempo a little bit as well. And just like swimming, as it does get harder, we should be increasing the tempo a little as well. No, you're looking strong on the pull. You're looking real controlled on the way back up. Don't be afraid just to kind of let that cord carry your hand back up to the top. Got 15 more seconds. As we get tired here, make sure we're avoiding the bounce. Okay, and rest. You guys can just drop the cords and walk away. This is where we'll take a little break here. Take an opportunity just to kind of swing the shoulders out, stretch. I really like in these stretch cord sessions, taking the opportunity just to walk away from the cords a little bit and stretch. I find that helps so much more when you come back to it. If you're just able to stretch out your especially your triceps, coming across the shoulders too, even just a little shoulder stretch coming across. Everything gets pretty tight pretty quickly on those cords, especially early on. So I find it's a really good idea to step back, stretch it out a little bit, even get back up into the streamline and wiggle and just try to feel those muscles loosen up before we get back into the next set. Now I know that the nines does call for some streamline and some kicking in here, but I think for the sake of time, I just want to make sure that we don't keep people too long on this Sunday. We will just take it as an opportunity to get a little rest and a little stretch. As we get going through this here, we're going to keep going, and we progress now. Instead of the 40 pulls, which are prescribed in the session, we're actually just going to do 40 seconds. Now this time the effort goes up. Last time we were at 60%, 70%, 80% for our 3 efforts. This time we're going to go 70, 80, 90. So we're finishing harder on the back end here and starting a little harder to begin with. So I'll give you guys a second to get set, and we'll take the same amount of rest. All right, so we're going to get started here. It's going to be 40 seconds. This time we're starting at 70%. So a little more tension, a little more tempo, a little higher tempo as we get rolling through these. All right, here we go. 40 seconds at 70% and go. Good. We've talked about this in the past, but head position is also super important in this. It's almost like you're swimming with a snorkel, nice stable head. Don't want to be looking up and straining your neck, looking too far forward. We also don't want to bury our chins down into our chest. We have a nice neutral head position. Got 10 more seconds. And rest. Okay, we got a short rest here. Short rest, and then we're upping it to 80%, 40 seconds at 80%. So maybe a nice little half step back, add a little bit more tension. Tempo is going to increase a little bit as well. If you've kind of maxed out your tension, again, you can just kind of start accelerating through that stroke a little more as we pick up the tempo. All right, 40 seconds at 80%. Ready, go. And just like when we're swimming, as the effort gets increased, when we talk about increasing tempo with swimming, it's not necessarily just moving your hands faster, it's accelerating your hand through the water faster. So we can do that as we pull, kind of accelerate through that pull a little faster, a little harder, all the way back through those hips. Just making sure we're holding form with that nice high elbow. Wrist below the elbow, fingertips pointed down. Got 10 more seconds. Okay, and rest. Okay, we've got one more time of the 40-second interval. This time we're up to 90%, so this is pretty hard here. We should have a good amount of tension on the cords. Arms should be moving, tempo should be up. We're gonna get going in about 10 seconds. We're going 40 seconds at 90%, so this should be a good hard effort. And start. We got 40 seconds here at 90%. Really accelerate through the back end. Nice high elbow. We talked about this in the last one. If you're not using cords with paddles, if you're gripping it, that's okay to have a closed fist around that, as long as you're still kind of pushing with the fist or pushing with the palm of the hand as opposed to the knuckles. Got 10 more seconds. Okay, and rest. Nice. All right, you guys can drop the paddles. Again, this is a good opportunity to kind of walk away, get the arms over the head, stretch the shoulders a little, kind of loosen that all up a little as we kind of take an extended break here. In a minute, we'll get into what will be the last three. These are short and fast. So this is, you almost got to think of this as like 25s fast, where we're getting in, we're going hard. Even from the get-go, the first one isn't going to be super easy. We're starting at 80%. So we're starting with a good amount of effort, a good amount of tension. We're going from 80%, then 90%. And then it's basically as much tension as we can get. And again, I would probably prefer you guys to have a faster tempo than a tension to where the cords are so tight that you can't get efficiently back through this back part. We still want to be finishing all the way through, but you can really work on pushing hard and almost like pretend like you're grabbing that water at the front and pushing it through as we go. All right, we'll get started in about 20 seconds here. You just want to start getting on your cords. So this is going to go by fast. It's quick. It's 20 seconds on, about 20 seconds off. We're going to go 80% to start for the first 20 seconds. So there should be a good amount of tension on there and should be ready to go. All right, here we go. 20 seconds at 80% and go. Good. Nice tempo should be up, pushing hard through. Got 5 more seconds. And rest. Okay, we're going to take 20 seconds rest here, and we're going right in 20 seconds at 90%. 20 seconds at 90%. So this isn't easy either. 90 is up there. This is hard. Good amount of tension, fast tempo. Hold the form together. Okay, we are going to go for 20 seconds and begin. 20 seconds, 90%. As we really get going hard, this is where we really want to make sure we're not bouncing for those of you that are standing. Five more seconds. And rest. Okay, we're going to take 20 seconds off. We've got our last 20 seconds. This is the hardest 20 seconds of the day right here. So high tempo, high tension, good form though. Hold that form together. We're going to go in 5 seconds. We're going to do 20 seconds. This is 20 seconds, hardest of the day. And go. Okay, halfway. Okay, and rest. All right, nice job, everybody. So we kind of made it through that pretty quickly. We got through that a little fast. That's okay. I'll let you guys shake it out, stretch it out. You know what we're going to do? We're going to do a little bit of a bonus round here at the end to give us a little rest. We made it through that a little faster than I thought we would. So I'll give you a good amount of rest here to stretch out. We're going to do a little bit of a bonus round. Nothing crazy. We're just going to go 1 time 60 seconds rest, 1 time 40 seconds rest, 1 times 20-second rest. And we're going to do that at 70, 75%, 80, 85% for the 40 seconds. Then we'll go 20 seconds hard again at the end. But we'll rest here for a minute before we do that. Let you stretch and get it shake it out a little. And so as you can see, you know, it's one of those sessions where it's definitely scalable and you can build off of it. So as I said, if we've made it through this and that didn't feel too bad, or maybe you do it the next time around, we add in the kick, which we left out today in between the rounds. But next time, instead of going, you know, a minute at 60, minute at 70, minute at 80, now you're doing 2 minutes at 60%, 2 minutes at 70%, 2 minutes at 80%. And you work through that a little bit. But it's the big thing with these stretch cord sessions, and I'll say it again and again, is that we don't go kind of too crazy on these. It's really there just to kind of keep that swim-specific strength, working those swim-specific muscles. But if we do too much, it's pretty easy. As you can tell, you don't have to do much to start to feel it through the shoulders, through the chest, through here. So it's easy to overdo it. But all right, we're going to get started here. We're just going to do 1 times 1 minute, one time 40 seconds and one time 20 seconds with 20 seconds rest in between. This first one at a minute, we're gonna do this like 70, 75%. So we will do 1 minute, alternating arms at about 70, 75%, starting now. A little bonus round here, just because you guys did so good and made it through that so fast. So again, this is kind of more of an endurance type effort where we can be form focused with it, feeling good. Maybe a bit of a relief after all the tension we had towards the end of those 20-second intervals. We're halfway there. I feel good to kind of slow the tempo down a little bit after those hard ones. Still keeping the pressure on the chords. Everybody's looking good. Finishing all the way through the back, getting that pull right up at the top of the front. Okay, and rest. We're just gonna do a quick 20 seconds here, and we're gonna go for 40 seconds now. We're gonna go 40 seconds at about 80, 85% for these. So take maybe, might be a good step back, add a little more tension. Tempo is gonna come up a little bit as well. Okay, 40 seconds starting right now. Should be about 80, 85%. So this is gonna be a little bit harder than what we just did. Tempo comes up. Anyway, we like to say that 80, 85% is almost like a race effort for 70.3, feeling strong. Pushing all the way through the back, good head position, not bouncing. Got 10 more seconds. Okay, and rest. Quick 20-second rest, and we're gonna go into our last 20 seconds. 20 seconds hard, just like the last 20 we did the first time through. So this should be high tension, high tempo, holding the stroke together. We're gonna start in 5 seconds. 20 seconds hard. 20 seconds fast, actually. Starting right now. Last 20 of the day. This time I promise. Here we go. High tension, high tempo. Watching the bounce. 10 more seconds. Okay, and rest. Nice job. You guys can drop the paddles, hop off the benches, shake it out. Come around here, I can do that with you. As we just kind of do some arm circles, you can even just do the Michael Phelps swimmer shake out here. That might be a little rough on the lower back because if you've been standing, you've already been bending over that much already. But it's a good idea to get that streamline if you were standing in that bent over position. Kind of go from here, bring that back up, and kind of lengthen back out a little bit. And shake and stretch. Yeah. Now, you know, one of the things, let me grab my cords here real quick. We'll talk a little bit about tension and how to add some tension. Grab my stretch cords. So Scott, looking at yours, I would say that you probably could stand to go for maybe something a little bit with a little bit more tension in it. Just looking at what you've got and the way you're dealing with it, I'd say you probably could stand to go up a little bit. It's a hard to know when to go up. I always say go with less tension besides going with more. With less, you can kind of, if you've got the space, you can, as you know, you can back up. Though it does reach a point where maybe you can't back up too much more, or even then you're not getting the right kind of tension out of it. On the other hand, if you go to something that's a little too thick, you're gonna find that it's easy to get your pull started at the top, but you're just not able, no matter how close you get, to be able to finish strong through the back. When you come up to the top, everything's gonna be kind of loose. And we want it to be, when we start our stroke, we want it to be tight enough that it's helping to put our hands and our arms into that right position. If it's loose, it kind of hard to initiate that stroke and initiate that pull. Another thing you can do is a lot of times we attach these cords to something just using the strap, and then we go back. You can wrap this top part around something as well and create a little bit more of a wrap at the top end, and that's going to create more tension through the back as well. So that's another way to do it. Though the thing with moving up too is if you do get a higher tension and you're going from a lower tension, I'm guessing you're not getting rid of the lower tension band. So if you think it's some time where you could move up and add a little bit more tension to it, you could always order it, see how it feels. If you want, bring it to the session and I can help check it out. And if you guys are going and I can see, maybe that's a little bit too much tension, we just figure out a way to use the other one a little bit more. That's an option as well. But it's one of those tricky things where I'd say, you know, you're better off starting light and trying to add tension to those lighter ones than going to a thicker gauge, because it's going to create a little bit too much stress if it's too thick for you. So I guess at this point, does anyone have any questions today? It doesn't have to be about tension or about adapting or sessions. It could just be on stretch cords or swimming or anything at all.
I have one. I often feel, or especially with these, but even in the pool, I'll often feel I get tired first, like here, and today actually a little bit in my tricep as opposed to like through my chest or my lats. Whereas I know other people, they can really feel it more in those bigger muscles.
Yeah.
Is that something I'm doing wrong, or?
It could be a case of dropping your elbow a little bit on a swim stroke.
Yeah.
Because usually by grabbing here, that's what we call engaging the lat, is this motion where you're almost grabbing the water with all of your forearm and your hand to start that pull as we pull back. What happens when we drop down drop our elbow down is now when you're pulling with this muscle through here, as opposed to trying to grab everything through here. It's engaging your lat. Dropping the elbow, it focuses more on the outside shoulder and through the tricep. The stretch cords, it's one of those where that's where I get sore too. When I start doing them, it's right through this back part. And I think, you know, I don't know for sure. I think it's just the mechanism of how we're using the stretch cords. We lose the rotation, so we're not able to engage the lats in the same way as we do when we swim, because we're flatter and we're square. We're kind of forced to use this muscle first to engage that stroke. So you will probably feel it through here more and through your tricep more with the stretch cords than you will when you're swimming.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. All right, any other questions, comments? Hope everybody's enjoying it, and I hope it's working out for you. We'll get back to kind of going off book a little bit next time. I know today this is just one of the sessions you guys have seen before, but I thought, given there's been a lot of comments on it on Facebook and other things, and you know, it was one of those where it just looks so hard. How do I do it? This is a great way to scale it. And you can see that with the other sessions if you've got some of those in there where either they're too hard and you need to scale them back, or you've kind of reached that point where you're ready to evolve those a little bit. There are ways to kind of evolve these sessions as we're going to be doing them maybe for the foreseeable future here for quite a while. So hopefully you guys can take some of that away with you. All right. Well, thank you all for joining, and I will see everybody on Wednesday. Hopefully you can make it.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. Bye, everyone.